The sixth and final episode of Crown Chasers has come and gone, and I must just say the girls just seemed so exhausted at the beginning of this episode. They were definitely voicing their emotions, but none more than Taahira, which, listen, I understand that seeming relatable and seeming real is definitely an asset when it comes to pageantry and winning over viewers, but I do feel like Taahira has been doing a little bit too much when it comes to the self-pity. Last episode, she was talking about how she felt fat and how she'd gained 7 kilograms, which was literally nowhere to be seen on her body. But anyway, I guess her feelings are valid, but I just feel like Taahira saying that there were times where she definitely felt like she didn't want to be there anymore or she did want to quit. It was giving Jordan a little bit. I don't know. I'm not completely sold on the idea of Taahira as Miss South Africa. It might seem like a little bit of a controversial opinion because so many people love Taahira, but I'm really just not living for all the negativity that we've been getting from Taahira throughout Crown Chasers, actually. I feel like every single time we hear from her, it tends to skew sort of negative. And I'm just not sure that I want that from a Miss South Africa. I want confidence overload rather than being too negative the way that she's been portraying herself. So last episode we found out that they were going to be taking the girls to Sun City, which I think is absolutely fabulous. I remember growing up like 40 kilometers away from Sun City, and my actual primary school took us on a field trip to Sun City for the day to go to Valley of the Waves for like a day when we were in grade 6, and it was so much fun. So it's so nice to see the girls visiting places that I am actually familiar with. And I thought it was sort of strange because they were telling the girls that they were going to be having to make vlogs while they were at Sun City, but at the end of the day they never mentioned these vlogs ever again during this episode of Crown Chasers. I was actually hoping that they would use some of the girls' footage way more than they did, and that it would be sort of like season 2, episode 2, where they actually went to Mauritius and used so much of the girls' actual footage that they took themselves, because that was such a fun episode. You know, I was hoping to see more of Sun City in this episode, just like they made an entire episode around Mauritius last season. Seeing Natasha in her little crown and her sash and all there in Sun City, it just gave me all of the feels. And they also held this exquisite and magical dinner for the girls that just once again cemented that this is the final stretch before we have to bid farewell to most of these women and crown our next Miss South Africa. So one of the challenges of this episode was sort of an escape room type of thing that they had at Sun City. And you know what? I do feel like they are doing too much with making all of the challenges about the sponsors. I feel like last year a lot of the challenges were centered around actual duties of a Miss South Africa, whereas I feel like this season a lot of the challenges are really just giving service to the sponsors. For example, this, escape room challenge. What exactly does that have to do with Miss South Africa? I don't know. Maybe to gauge how well the women work in teams, but we've seen that over and over. So many of the challenges, in fact, have been team challenges. I feel like there aren't enough individual challenges. And more so, I feel like there aren't enough individual challenges that are actually meaningful when it comes to gauging whether or not someone will be a great Miss South Africa. This escape room challenge basically just allowed last episode's top 3 to choose their teams. At the end of the day, there were 3 teams of 4 people. Natasha was also part of that since there are an uneven number of women. So she made up one of the team members. And you know what, watching these women working through these escape rooms, I haven't lived in South Africa for a long time, I live in Namibia. I don't think escape rooms are such a huge thing in South Africa to begin with. So watching these women work through these escape rooms weren't really that inspiring to me. It wasn't really that fun to watch. If anything, it just reminded me of myself trying to figure out government paperwork. However, I do wish that instead of this escape room nonsense, we'd gotten to see more of the game drive, because they did have the girls going on a game drive. It was just literally not even a minute's worth of footage, I don't think. But I feel like game drives are such an authentically South African thing to do, and the girls' reaction to the baby elephants and things like that, it would have just been so much more fun just to focus on this game drive and, you know, all of these sort of authentically South African things that they just blow over during Crown Chasers this season, instead of having the, you know, escape room thing. I don't know, maybe it's just me, I'm not that into escape rooms. I don't like to watch people struggling. I feel like we already had sort of an obstacle course last episode, and I just feel like really including the escape room thing was just a little bit, you know, passe, you know. Given that we already had a similar teen challenge thing last episode, I would have rather seen much more animals and baby elephants, etc, etc. Watching this episode's Talk Your Worth segment just really cemented to me the fact that, wow, these women have grown so much since episode 1. I mean, you can definitely see it in the way they talk, in the way they sit. Their postures are so much better. Their hair, hair, I was trying not to mention the wigs this episode, but you already know. But their makeup, things like that, they look stunning. They look like Miss South Africa's. They sound like Miss South Africa's. They walk like Miss South Africa's. They sit like Miss South Africa's. I'm just so impressed with the amount of growth that we've been seeing from these women, and you know, comparing them to episode 1, it's like they've leveled up so much. For this episode's photo shoot, it was all about the glam. They had Willem Botha as the photographer, whom, of course, he is someone that I am very familiar with. He was actually the performer, like the musical talent, at my one and only pageant that I ever competed in, and he's since then turned into more of a stylist, makeup artist, photographer, etc. But he sings very well. He does have some great music out there. Anyway, he was joined by Suzette van der Merwe as sort of a director. Now, if you don't know who this is, this was Miss South Africa 1990. Unfortunately, Werner couldn't make it to the shoot. So it was Willem, Natasha and Suzette watching over the girls while they were having their very glam photo shoots. From everyone in the shoot, I just have to still say that Chidimma really stands out to me facially. Oh, she's just the most gorgeous creature. Oh, I love the way that Chidimma looks. Her photos are always so amazing to me. During the shoot, I've noticed that everyone pretty much was obsessed with Lebohang and with Mia during the shoot, whereas the photographer said that his least favorites were Kirsten, Kebalepile and Nompumelelo. So this episode, the girls actually did their runway walks in the exact same dresses that they did their glam shoots in. And I actually felt that it was so interesting what the judges were saying about their walks. Their criticism of the walks were that it seemed a little bit contrived and overdone in places. And you know what? I must agree. You know, sometimes when you have to do a gown walk, it can easily turn into feeling very much contrived and unnatural. And that was the main criticism from the judges for the final week's ramp walks in evening gown. The judges really did also give sort of in-depth and individual criticism and their opinions and impressions of each and every woman this episode, and I do appreciate that. On top of all of the things that the women had to do this episode, they also actually had a 5-minute interview with the judges each. So because Layla has children, she was asked about how her being a mother gives her something that sets her apart. And she was talking about, the nurturing qualities that mothers tend to have and all of that. And she ended up saying that those are what sets her apart. But, I don't really understand why they asked Layla this question, or why they only showed Layla answering this question, because Chidimma is also a mother. We know this about her. So I don't know how Layla can say that these things are what sets her apart when she's not even the only mother competing. Chidimma probably also has these qualities, so is it really that unique? Taahira spoke nervously. This, once again, I don't see Taahira as Miss South Africa. She spoke very, very nervously. Kebalepile is very intelligent. She's a very intelligent speaker, and that's definitely something that I appreciate about her. Chidimma's answer also came out a bit nervous, but she had a very sort of international level answer. Kirsten, I must unfortunately say, I like Kirsten for her being so soft and soft-spoken, but she is not the strongest speaker here, sadly to say. Nompumelelo knows her stuff. She blew me away. She really is up to date on the latest about South Africa, okay? I love Nompumelelo's knowledge. Palesa spoke. Palesa is a great speaker. She was very much correct about the exorbitant cost of mental health, getting the help that you need, and that's very important. Onalenna very much opened up once again about the horrifying and excruciatingly terrible experiences that she's had with men in the past, which no doubt informs her low opinion of men that she holds right now. Keep in mind she's married, but she just has been dropping these bombs about her very negative thoughts about men throughout her journey.
I hate being compared to a man. We cannot compare me to a being that I birthed.
And I believe that women are far more capable and should never even be compared to men, because what we bring to the table is far more of what they can give.
And even with knowing what she's been through, I still do not agree with a lot of the things she said. I don't know if it's controversial for me to say this. I like Onalenna a lot as a Miss South Africa contestant. I do think that she's actually, I think she's in my top 3 right now. So I'm obsessed with Onalenna. I understand where she comes from when it comes to the things that she said about men during her journey so far. I just do not condone it. Even though I understand it, I still do not think that it's necessary to say these sorts of things regardless. So the top 3 ended up being Nompumelelo, Layla, and Mia, and the winner of this episode ended up being Nompumelelo, who's been a clear standout during the entirety of the Crown Chasers journey, which means that the bottom 3 ended up being Palesa, Kirsten, and Kebalepile. For the rapid fire Q&As, Kebalepile gave a strong answer, but it could have been stronger. Kirsten unfortunately just isn't commanding enough on the stage, and I'm afraid that if Kirsten does end up winning Miss South Africa, that she will not be a commanding enough speaker at Miss Universe. But I do love Kirsten as a person, which makes it so difficult. And lastly, Palesa. Obviously, she's been the speaking queen from the start. From the start, Palesa, I know, has been one of the strongest speakers, so I wasn't surprised when she nailed it here in the rapid fire Q&A segment. So once again, the judges pulled a fast one on our girls and made it feel like no one was going home until they just did the most diabolical thing ever and said that from the bottom two, who ended up being Kirsten and Kebalepile, the viewers were actually the ones who were going to vote for who gets into the top 10 and who doesn't, which I think is absolutely diabolical. Imagine being Kirsten or Kebalepile the last few weeks since this episode was filmed. You know what this means, right? They have probably just been stressing. I just feel like this is absolutely terrible. Talk about your mental health. Talk about your mental health. The Miss South Africa organization does not care. And I just think that, wow. And the fact that they are putting all of this on us. I could never choose between Kirsten and Kebalepile. It's just, the thing is, right, I would have rather, this might be controversial, I would have rather had Onchi and Lebohang in the bottom two instead of Kirsten and Kebalepile, because I feel like Onchi and Lebohang, for me, they were in the background the entirety of Crown Chasers. You know, they didn't really stand out that much, whereas Kirsten and Kebalepile, ever since these women entered, I have been on them like this, especially Kirsten, because I love Kirsten. I just feel like Kirsten has such a great personality, even though she's sort of demure and, you know, she's very feminine in a certain sense. And Keba, you know, she's just the most amazing speaker, or she's always been. I've liked Keba, I've liked Kirsten, and it's just so difficult for me to have to think about who will I vote for out of these two women, because I like them for completely different reasons. Anyway, viewers can vote for these women on the Miss South Africa app up until the 8th of August. And the winner will be announced at the finals on the 10th of August. This year, I was planning to go. I'm going to be watching from the comfort of my own home because things have happened. Positive things in my life. Very positive. Nothing serious or bad, but sudden positive changes in my life have rendered me unable to travel internationally right now. But I am so excited to see which of these two women are going to be ending up in the top 10. But it must be so nerve-wracking for these two individuals. I do feel very sorry for them. But we will find out who it's going to be on the 10th of August. And then we will also bid adieu to our Miss South Africa 2023 Natasha and say hello to our new Miss South Africa. Exciting times, guys. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys thought about Crown Chasers. I will be posting my prediction a little bit later on in the week, obviously, but it's Miss South Africa week. I'm so excited. Let me know what you guys think. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe and I will see you in the next one. Bye.